Hey Doc, how are you?
Great, Tom. What's going on?
Not much. I was just wondering, in terms of going so deep with your bench in game two, which worked out so well with Milton, it seems to kind of fly and a lot of coaches seem to shorten their rotation in that situation. I was just curious sort of what led you to do that.
Well, I said it before the playoffs. I don't think a lot of coaches shorten it unless they have a team that they don't trust. There are coaches who do stay with their deep rotations. Phoenix. I watched them last night. They went deep and they've done it every night because they have enough guys where they feel comfortable playing. I've had that before, and I've also had the 8-7 rotations as well. So I really think that's more of it. We have a lot of guys on this team that can play. We have a plethora of guards who can play. They all can't play every night. And so what we want to do is keep them in rhythm and the push pull principle. Meaning you play well, you keep playing. If not, there's a guy pushing you, which will pull you along as well. So I think it's been good for us.
I had a quick follow up if I could. I was just wondering, does how many guys you play change on the road versus at home in the playoffs, or is it more the circumstances of the
It's
game?
the circumstances, and really it comes down to how you're playing, and how you're functioning with the group.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff McCaffrey.
Doctor, so much talk obviously about the chess match and matchups and changing throughout the course of a series. But what does it do for a coach like you? What kind of relief does it give a head coach like yourself when no matter what the other team does, 9 out of 10 games, you're going to have the best player on the floor, and that guy is going to be a handful no matter what the other team truck to put together as a game plan.
Yeah, it's you want that, the trump card. That's what we used to call it. And so you do know you have a guy you can always go to. But that can be fool's gold for the rest of the guys. You still have to make sure that everyone is contributing. The better the other guys play, the easier it's for your trump card, let's say, to be more dominant. Because if they're not, then they can sag and help and do things to take that off the table as well.
All right, Doc, thanks.
Thanks.
Dave McMenamin.
Hey, Doc, this isn't a value question about Ben Simmons. Obviously, that's pretty obvious, his total package of what he brings to the court. More of a strategy. In the first round against Washington, you said, like, hey, I'm keeping him in if they start doing the fouling, Hack-a-Ben or whatever. But last game, he misses 2 free throws with 3 minutes to go or so, and then you sub in Shake Milton. What do you do as a coach when?
Well, it just depends on the circumstances. I was fortunate enough to have an extra timeout. I held it. I try to hold it every game, honestly. It was 3 minutes left with an extra time. I had to use that timeout before the 3 minute mark, and so that allowed me to do that. I took him and Matisse off the floor, and I just figured we can get 1 minute. We had an offensive possession. I figured we'd have one defensive possession and one more offensive possession. So that was a 2-for-1 in a lot of ways situation. If I didn't have that timeout, I probably wouldn't have done that. That's why, in the old days when guys dove out of bounds or dove on the floor and called a timeout, we used to call it a great play. In the new days when guys do that, every coach is dying because you want to save that timeout. You want to have, with 5 minutes left, if you have that extra timeout, it absolutely gives you another card and things that you can do. So.
Thank you, Norman Rosen.
Hey, Doc, you've been super vocal all season about Ben being your pick for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And while he didn't win, he, Joel, and Matisse all finished in that top 11 group of guys in
Yeah.
that voting. What does that say about the defensive potential that you guys have in this playoffs, but also because they're all so young, the sustained defensive potential that this team has?
Yeah, both. I mean, I was disappointed Joel didn't win MVP, but I thought, when you think of Joker and what he's done all year, and that he's played in the amount of games that he played in, he was the worthy winner, right? I feel the same way about Ben. Ben missed a ton of games as well, and so. But what I love about both is last year or the last couple of years they wasn't mentioned in either one of those categories, and now they're on the board. And with their youth and growth that we anticipate, I do think in the future, in the near future, Ben will be Defensive Player of the Year, and Joe will be MVP. You know, a lot of times you have to have a MVP season the year before you become the MVP, and the same thing with any of these awards.
Aaron Weitzman.
Hey Doc, last game, but also a lot of the season, Joel's kind of the anchor, the focal point of what you guys do on both ends of the court, which I'm not sure if there's other player in the league where that's the case. So is that fair for me to say? And I guess to make it a question, you've been around the NBA for a long time. Just how rare is that from just a skill standpoint and also just energy standpoint?
Yeah, it's pretty rare. I mean, I don't know if he would be the focal point defensively, but he's definitely one of them for sure. I mean, he's the anchor point on defense because he has the ability to protect the rim. You know, he's so versatile. It's rare with a guy his size that you can bring up in pick and rolls, that you can actually switch on a couple of occasions. You can trap and you can be in the drop. You know, Joel can do all those things and he does them well. He has great feet. Listen, he really does, and that makes us pretty good defensively. So it is rare. I mean, Patrick Ewing, Elijah, you know, was phenomenal defensively, but it's not a lot of guys. That list is very short.
Thank you.
Mark Narducci.
Doc, Trae Young had said he had gotten his shots, he just missed them, but it really did look like he was bothered by Ben's length, especially when he blocked that three-pointer. How did you see that matchup?
Probably a little bit of both. I thought Ben did an excellent job on him. I thought, you know, Ben blocked one of his shots, which I don't think he has seen a lot happen to him. You know, I thought Ben channeled him to the right places. I thought, you know, Trae did have 2 or 3 shots. One that I know for a fact was wide open. But, you know, when you've had your shot rushed all game, you finally get one, you tend to pull the trigger on that one too, you know. So I think it probably is a cumulative effect. But listen, we have to do better each game. We're not satisfied with how we played last game. There's a lot of areas, Mark, that in my opinion, we have to keep striving to get better, and I think our guys understand that.
Okay, thanks.
Time for 2 more. We'll start with Kai Carlin.
Hey, Coach. Danny Green's 1 for 9 from deep in this series for the first 2 games. Is that just really a product of just him missing open looks, or is there something that like maybe you guys could do to get him going a little bit?
No, we don't worry about it. I mean, you know, for the most part, you know, of those 9, I'm going to say 6 of them were probably good shots. 3 we would like to pass on, but I still give him that liberty, that freedom, because at the end of the day, that's what he does. So I don't worry about shooters missing shots. I really don't. Like, the odds are they're going to start making them at some point.
And then he did have 8 assists in game 2. So
Yeah.
what does that say to him? What does that say about him? Like even though he's not making shots, he's still able to kind of contribute in other ways on the floor.
Yeah, you know, the old adage is if we took away what you do well, is there anything else you can do to help the team? And if you can, then you get to keep playing. If you can't, you got to come sit with me. You know, that's basically the rule of basketball, you know.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Last question will go to Austin Crow.
Hey Doc, on game 2 early on, it felt like you were sort of matching and countering Trae's action behind screens with Tobias showing high. Was it more about just like showing Trae different looks in terms of mitigating his speed, or were you just trying to get enough size in front of him to really block off his angle at the rim?
Well, first of all, Austin, I see you picked the nicest picture of yourself instead of being live, which I think is kind of interesting. So that's there you go. Yeah, see, go back to the photo, please. Go back to the photo. I'm joking.
I tried to get a haircut.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we got to give this kid a lot of looks, man. He is so clever. We switched some, we showed some, we even trapped a couple, which we're trying to avoid, to be honest, because he passes so well out of the traps and they have so much shooting. We just feel strongly you can't give him one look, and we're just going to try to keep mixing it up.
And then lastly, just before you go, they announced yesterday that DeAndre Hunter will be out for the remainder of the playoffs. How does that change anything for you?
Well, he hasn't been in, so, you know, it doesn't change much at all. You know, he's going to be a terrific player, very high on him. So that's a big loss for the Hawks.
Thanks, Doc.
Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Take care.